I was always
Sorry,
alone.
their stories.
The only playmates I had were my cousins and my brother, but it took 3 hours and 25 minutes to get to their houses. One day, my mom let me play outside with the kids in our neighborhood for the first time because she was going somewhere, maybe to work or to run errands. I got my dolls and other toys and was excited to play with the kids outside. When I got there, no one wanted to play with me. The attempt was useless, but then someone approached me. He had puppy eyes and was cute. We quickly became playmates. Even though he was a boy, he would join me for tea parties with my dolls. He also invited me to play with him at his house. But I was confused because his house looked old and abandoned. Like it hadn't been cleaned up for almost 12 years. We decided to go play in his garden. When we got there, I puked. I didn't know why at the time, but for some reason, I was disgusted.
Oh, and
It's expected of you.
my
I'm sorry,
god.
guys, but
There's an ad.
Study hard.
Sorry.
He didn't offer me water or anything. He just looked at me grinning and said, "Next time, you're going to sleep here too." 2 weeks after that upsetting experience, I went looking for him. A paper airplane flew to me out of nowhere. I picked it up, and when I opened it, I was shocked, scared, and sad. It was a newspaper clipping. The boy that I played with went missing 9 years ago. I ran to my bedroom, and I saw a shadow through my window. I looked at it closely, and it was the boy. He was smiling. Today, I'm 19 years old, and I still remember that part of my childhood so clearly.
Okay, next. Man who escaped from prison broke into my house.
One day, when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my mom had gone to my older sister's recital in Georgia, and my dad was at work. He was a pilot for some airline. So she left me and my older brother, who was only 12 at the time, at the sitter's house, which was a few blocks away from my house. My sitter, who I'm gonna call Bev, was 19, and she was pretty much the best kind of sitter to a 6 to 7-year-old boy could ask for. She'd let us play games and stay up watching TV, as long as we didn't bother her while she was on the phone with her boyfriend. We were watching TV, and we could hear something scratching the paneling on the side of the house.
Guys.
Naturally, we blew it off as a stray animal, so we continued watching TV.
This is
About
bad.
30 minutes to an hour later, Bev ran into the living room and locked the front door and shut the blinds. We were curious as to what she was doing. Me and my brother, being kids, got scared and started crying. Then Bev said everything would be okay. It was just a peeping Tom. So she took us upstairs and we went to her parents' room with the Nintendo and some snacks.
Nintendo.
She said stay put and not to touch anything we didn't bring into the room. Not a minute later after she walked out of the room,
she screamed.
we heard a loud crash and glass shattering in the room below us. The sicko had thrown a brick from the walkway through the guest bedroom window and managed to get in. I remember Bev running into the room and pulling us into the closet and telling us we were going to play a game of hide and seek and to be very quiet. She got out of the closet and locked it from the outside latch and disappeared. Several minutes passed and we could hear a grown man
As
screaming,
you see here,
come out wherever
like
you are.
5 or 2,
I
but
only want to play.
sorry, we might upload this
Then I
earlier
heard what
because we're gonna
sounded
go to
like
Thailand,
water
which we're gonna
running
be
in the
vlogging
bathroom
about. So,
across
yeah.
the
Later, actually. Later.
Then it shut
That's why
off.
we're already getting ready.
And I heard Bev yelling something at the man. It was something like, the police are on their way. You better get out of my fucking house now.
Oh, bad word, guys. Sorry. Bad word.
Heavy footsteps sprinting out of the room. And then sirens wailing in the distance.
Nice.
Bev shrieked, and we heard a loud thud on the ground below us. Bev had managed to find an old wooden bat. As the man turned a corner to go out the front door, Bev swung the bat as hard as she could, knocking the man to the floor.
You can't see
Dazed,
her.
he got up and tried chasing her outside, but the cops had already arrived and tackled the man on sight. My mom came home immediately and took me, my brother, and Bev back to my house. A few years later, she explained that the man was a known sex offender and had escaped from prison. In the report, he was said to be carrying a rather large knife in his pocket and had a Saturday night special tucked away in the waist of his pants.
Oh my god. Okay, school lockdown. It's next school lockdown.
It happened last year, 2018, when I was still in my second year of high school. It was earlier March that I was in school. We were just playing some quiz game on my laptop. I connected it to the projector for all of them to see. But then suddenly the school's fire alarm went off.
Oh my
They
god.
said this isn't a drill, but rather a maniac just entered our school with a gun. So all of us closed the door and the
Yeah,
window
guys,
to our
please like and
classroom and
subscribe.
switched
We're
off
almost
the
hitting
lights.
30
It was all
subscribers.
silent.
So
But it's
yeah.
better if you get 100.
Yeah.
At first, I wasn't panicking that much, but it all started to happen
And
when a
shout out
gunshot
to
was heard from the distance.
Yanni
of our room.
Martensi,
I
also
can
known
assume
as
that
son
he
of a
already knows that we're
pastor.
here. We're
Subscribe to him. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
And
this room from the entry
shout
hall.
out to our hater, Valak. What's his name?
I don't know.
Valak Gamer Whitey. I don't care because he's a hater.
He's not a hater.
I don't
Every
care.
single one of my classmates was crying. I'm the tallest and the oldest student of them all. I'm 16 and some of them are 15 and
So,
14 and another one is 12.
Yep.
So I thought, I'm the oldest. I should protect them. I was like that. So then I grabbed the fire extinguisher in our room.
That's what
Because
you would
every
do.
single room in my school has a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher, just in case of a fire. I had a stupid plan inside my head that I'll spray him with the fire extinguisher. So, then I opened our room door, and I came across it. He was a middle-aged man, wearing a white tank
Wait, I'm
and
gonna
black
hide the brightness.
slacks.
Sorry, guys.
He was holding a .44 Magnum caliber revolver.
Oh my god.
At first, we were having a
Okay.
quick draw match, like that.
Oh my
He
god.
grabbed his gun
Oh
first
my gosh.
and pulls the trigger.
Sorry guys, you're
I can
so
feel my heart beating fast. Just then he aimed the gun at me, but it didn't shoot at all. He forgot to cock his gun.
Maybe
Oh,
try
So
to-
then it's my chance to hit him with the fire
Bad!
extinguisher.
Nice.
Oh, you can't see him.
After that, the police arrived and every student was reunited with their family. And still, I'm wondering, what could have happened if he didn't forget to cock his gun and shoot me first?
Okay. The creature horror story. This
So
My name is
we might
Magda,
end this a
and
little
I'm
short
26 years
because we might leave at like 5:30 to 6.
yeah, it's
So
fine.
as you can see, it's 5:06. So yeah,
So let's
we're
continue.
just gonna end when we're gonna leave. So
Yeah.
sorry guys.
This video might be like 30 minutes long, so sorry guys.
Yeah.
office in the city. On the weekends, I used to love to get away from all the hustle and bustle and take a trip to the countryside. Luckily, I have a cottage in a small village which is
That looks
located
scary.
right at the edge of the forest. How I used to love to get out of the city and spend the weekend in my little cottage. Why did I stop? Well, I'll tell you. After a hard week at work, I needed to rest, so I decided to get out of town. I went home, packed my bags, threw them in the trunk, and drove off. When I arrived
By
in
the
the
way, guys,
village,
when
it
you
was
just
late
always
in the
have a friend
evening
with
and I
you.
was tired from the long drive. I went straight to bed and fell asleep quickly. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by the sound of my car alarm going off. I looked out the window, but there was nobody in sight. I found my car keys, pressed the button to shut off the alarm, and the awful noise stopped. I laid back down and tried to fall asleep.
Oh no.
All of a sudden, the alarm went off again. I didn't feel like getting up, so I just grabbed my keys and pressed the button once more.
She's so lazy. She
Everything
should
was
get
peaceful
up.
and quiet again. However, 5 minutes later, the alarm went off a third time. Once or twice could have been an accident, but now I was wondering what was going on. Could someone be playing tricks on me in the middle of the night? I got up again and pressed the button to turn off the
I'm so
alarm.
scared right now.
But this time, I didn't lay back down. I stood at the curtains and watched.
Oh no.
After a few minutes, I saw something by the light of the moon. A shadow emerged from the bushes and slowly approached the car.
Wait, guys, sorry, I'm gonna
Higher
cure
than
the
my-
brightness.
I could just about make out the shape. It was something tall, skinny, and black.
Slender
The
Man.
figure reached out with its long, thin arms and knocked on the car. The alarm went off again, and quick as a flash, the dark figure retreated back into the bushes.
Oh yeah, by the way,
At that moment,
message to Corey X country.
Oh my god.
When are you coming
I
back for not
realized what was
BRs
going
out?
on and began shaking with fear. I turned off the alarm and continued to watch. The thing emerged from the bushes again, slid silently over to the gates, threw a hand through them, and removed the partition holding the
doesn't
gates
lock
closed. I was paralyzed with fear, and I couldn't
Sorry, by the
move.
way, I keep
My mind was
shaking.
overcome by panic thoughts. What was it?
If you're
What did it
scared,
want
guys,
from me?
comment down below.
What was it doing? Would it ever go away? A shiver ran through my body, from my head down to my toes.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys,
My
and
mouth was
comment
dry
down
and my heart
below
was beating fast.
what
I was so
good
tense.
names could be for our YouTube channel. So yeah.
Yeah.
Gritting my teeth and clenching my hands into fists. I regained control of myself and ran down the stairs as fast as
Oh
my legs
my
could carry me
gosh!
to the ground floor. I wanted to look for something I could use to protect myself. However, just as I was about to switch on the lights, I suddenly froze in my tracks. The dark figure was at the window. It was pressed up against the glass, staring in, looking to see whether or not there was someone home. I immediately ducked down behind the sofa and peered out. And that's when I realized what all those tricks with the car were for. It was trying to lure its victim outside. I couldn't take my eyes off its hideous face.
Oh, by
Its
the way,
skin
this
was
is
the
my
color
phone.
of ash and covered with wrinkles. Its eyes were small, beady, and completely black. Instead of it having a nose, there were two ragged holes. It didn't have any lips, just 2 rows of sharp, yellow teeth.
Oh gosh.
It was so heavy and hoarse
The title.
that it was misting up the window. I just knew it wasn't
Wait, who
going to
made
go
it?
away. After standing at the window for a few moments, I heard a rustling noise as it came to the front door. I watched as it tried to push its fingers through the gap under the door. The handle began to twitch wildly up and down. The creature emitted a chilling sound. It was not like a human voice. It was a deep, beastly growl.
Demonyo!
Angry dog chewing on a bone. I knew that if it heard me, it would keep trying until it found a way to get into the house. I crouched down
It's
behind
like my
the sofa,
cousin Kingston.
Oh my
outside.
desperately trying
Which
not to
we'll
make
be
a sound.
meeting in
Tears
Thailand.
began
If you guys
involuntarily
didn't-
streaming
oh,
down my
okay.
face. No matter how much I tried to stop them, I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples, and I was shaking like a leaf, just waiting for
So
it
we're
to
gonna try
end.
to make this at least a 20-minute
I don't
video.
know how long I cowered
If
there.
You guys won't get bored.
When I woke up and looked out the window, the creature was gone. The door was still in place, and everything seemed secure. I've never been
I
so
think it's gonna be
relieved
near
in
her.
all my life. I ran upstairs and looked out the window. It was light outside, and there was no sign of anything wrong. Taking a chance, I grabbed my keys, and without stopping to collect any of my things, I ran out to the car. I jumped in, locked the doors, and drove away from the village as fast as I could. I didn't stop driving until I got back to the city. When I got back to my apartment, I turned on the radio and heard a news report. The announcer said that, in the village, the dead bodies of 2 girls had been discovered. Their corpses had been mutilated and dumped in a swamp. I guess the creature found what it was looking for. I don't want to, but I am curious to know. What would have happened if I didn't make the right decision of sprinting?
Oh no. Minis. Oh.
Years ago when I was in the 5th grade, my friends and I were walking home from school and we noticed some of the other kids laughing very loudly at something and running away.
So yeah,
like
this
they
gonna
were
be the
listening.
last video.
I looked back and they were laughing at this woman who was walking behind us. We didn't know why because we saw her every day when we were walking home from school. We just never spoke with her or
So
we never
yeah,
even seen her
my
up close.
it's gonna be the last video.
We moved closer to see what was so funny, and we definitely noticed what the other kids were making ruckus about. This was a man dressed in a miniskirt.
That's a female.
Gosh.
The other
Weirdo.
kids were throwing sticks and rocks at it, but
Oh no, don't.
He never responded. He just smiled.
He looks so ugly.
A few days later, I just so happened to be watching the news and I saw the same guy's face on the news. My friend who lives around the corner was getting her mail when she saw the man across the street watching her. He waved and he started skipping across the street like a little girl, all loudly asking her, "Do you remember me?" She was one of the kids that threw rocks at him. She shut her door as he started running full speed toward her house while wearing a wig, mini skirt, heels, and a woman's tank top. He started banging on her door until she called the police.
She's a chick low.
He was caught within minutes.
Nice.
Anything could have happened to us that day with this guy roaming our neighborhood. But luckily, nothing ever happened to any of the kids that I knew.
I saw my brother's door playing. What is that?
Doppelganger.
Guys, if you know what that
Just
means
comment
or
down below.
how
18
you,
years old
whatever,
and a senior in high
comment
school.
down below.
It was an ordinary night. My dad worked the night shift, so we all decided to sleep in my
Crazy
parents'
bad
room.
bears?
I was with my younger brother, who was 15 years old at the time, my younger sister, who was 11 years old, and my mom. My parents' room was a small, purple, square-shaped room, which also had a bathroom. The bathroom's door was across from the bed.
Guys,
My
didn't we
younger
say
brother
that
and
was
I
the
slept on my
last
parents'
video?
bed
But
while my mom
never
and my
mind,
younger
this
sister
might
slept
be
on the
the
floor.
last.
Before sleeping, we all had a short conversation, and after that, we went to sleep at 9 p.m. At 2 a.m., I was awakened by a strange sensation. As I opened my eyes, I had my eyes fixed on the bathroom door, which was cracked open. To my surprise, I noticed a black figure, which looked exactly like my younger brother. The figure stood there with his arms crossed, watching me. However, his eyes were shut. At that moment, I froze. I couldn't move from the bed, and I was scared that if he opened his eyes, he would have red or bloodshot eyes. I decided to quietly turn my head to the other side of the bed to see if it was indeed my brother. My heart sunk to my stomach when I realized that my brother was sleeping right next to me. So many thoughts kept racing through my head. Who is this person? Why is he here? How could he look exactly like my brother? I tried as hard as possible to sleep and ignore what I saw. A few minutes later, after opening and closing my eyes, I was shocked to see that the figure was now standing above me, still looking right into my eyes with his eyes shut. My eyes were wide open from the shock. I felt like I was going to die from a heart attack. I felt as if he was starting to open his eyes, which scared me and caused me to close my eyes and force myself to sleep. Forcing myself to sleep worked, and the next thing I knew, it was morning. When I woke up, I headed to the living room and saw my mom. After holding it inside for a bit, I gave up and told my mom about the incident. I almost froze when she said she saw the same exact figure and witnessed what happened. It was terrifying. We both saw the same black figure that looked exactly like my brother. It was as if he was my brother's twin. We lived in that house for 2 more years until we finally moved out. After the move, we told my dad about this story because he doesn't like hearing creepy stories, so we kept it a secret until we moved. He surprised us by saying that we were not alone. He saw some strange things in that house as well.
Oh my gosh.
I think this is gonna be the last
we gonna
story.
continue?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be the last story because our goal is 20
Guys,
minutes long.
sorry we keep
Guys.
on saying.
Get vacuum and vacuum everything.
Okay. After this.
Now,
When you think
go.
of Counter-Strike Global
No.
Offensive, the last thing you'd think of was a horror story.
Unahan ng vacuum.
But yet, here I am. It was the summer of 2014, and I was bored and home alone, so naturally I hopped on CSGO. I
Go.
went to Dust Online to play
Yeah,
some casual. It wasn't a very busy lobby, there was about 5 people on each side. I joined Terrorist, where I quickly discovered the only other person with a mic was a guy whose name was something like Smarties McFlurry.
What a horrible
He sounded a
name.
lot older than me. I was 14 at the time. His name was Dave, and we got along well, and we played good together since we had the same number of skill. We eventually played more CSGO together, and then friended each other on Steam. After that, he asked for some of my social media, and I gave him my Discord and Snapchat. Then on CSGO, Dave suddenly said he had to leave, and we could play more tomorrow. So I got off and watched some TV and eventually went to sleep on the couch.
1.
I was home alone
Yeah,
for the
okay.
night.
Dad, let me finish.
At like 1 a.m. I awoke and
God, we're
was water.
recording.
Then I heard a Snapchat
That is
notification
so
from my phone.
soft.
Curious as to who was sending snaps at this time of night, I picked it up and saw it was from Dave.
Yeah.
I opened it, and it was a picture of my front lawn and house. The phone and the glass of water fell from my hands to the floor, and my heart began to race. I was suddenly frozen, as if rooted to the spot. The darkness around me seemed to become thicker, and I swear I was seeing shadows all around me. Then I heard a knock at the glass. I turned to the back window, and there he was, the Dave guy, who looked a lot older and creepier than me. Without thinking, I ran to the back door and locked it. I also locked the front door. I could hear him calling to me through the window. Then I proceeded to run to the only windowless room, the bathroom. I stayed in there for about an hour, shaking and fearing the worst. I dreaded hearing the sound of Dave calling me again, a knock at the door, or even footsteps outside. I don't know how long it was before I fell asleep. The next morning, my parents arrived home, and I hesitated to tell them about my experience. I knew they would drop shit on me, but it wasn't just that. I was questioning whether or not I was dreaming when the Dave guy appeared at my house. I knew I had not been dreaming playing CSGO with him, though. However, when I checked my phone, it was like he didn't exist. He was not on my friends list in CSGO, his Steam account was gone, his Discord was gone, and even his Snapchat was gone. All deleted. To this day, I still question my sanity about whether or not this Dave guy who I played CSGO with really existed. I know for sure we had chatted on the game, on Discord and on Snapchat, but had he really come to my house? And why were all of his online accounts deleted? I really don't know.
So yeah, guys.
I have the vacuum.
Yeah, you can subscribe. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.